All right, today we're stepping away from the grand public stage and into a tiny 6x4 prison cell lit by just a single candle. We're going to unpack a really profound parable called The Third Dance. Think of it as an intimate 5-act play between a jester and a high priest. So let's dive into this deep philosophical encounter.
And this line, this is really the key that unlocks the whole thing. See, we might think of jesters and priests putting on these big public shows, but this story finds all of its power in the silence. It's a real conversation, not a performance, and that just changes everything.
So what is it that makes this third dance so different? First off, there's no crowd, no audience. It's just these two guys talking late at night after the final church service. That kind of intimacy, it just strips away all the pretense and forces a real, genuine exchange. Now, up until this point, the jester's encounters were always one-sided, totally asymmetric. He'd show up, expose some uncomfortable truth, and then just leave, usually with chaos in his wake. But here, this is the first time it's a true dialogue. The high priest doesn't just sit there and take it, he actually gives something back. And for the very first time, the jester receives. And this little detail in the text really shows you just how different this is. We get to hear something brand new from the jester, what's called his ember voice. It's described as warmer, more confessional. This isn't the cold, sharp truth teller we've seen before. This is the sound of the actual, vulnerable man under all that makeup and motley.
Okay, so from this really intimate setting, the conversation builds to the absolute heart of the matter. A classic, super deep debate about the body and the spirit. This is the intellectual arena where the real dance is about to happen.
The high priest kicks things off by admitting he's been stuck for 6 years, unable to write a sermon on the resurrection, but he's finally had this huge breakthrough. He realizes the body isn't some cage that the spirit is trapped in. No, it's the very shape the spirit takes to feel the world, to feel cold stone on your feet, or the pressure of grief in your chest. The body is the main tool the spirit has to connect with anything at all.
And in response, the jester offers his own definition, which is just a fascinating contrast. To him, the spirit is that nagging, relentless part of us that just demands meaning, even in a universe that couldn't care less. And then he confesses something huge. He admits that for years he used that asking like a weapon without ever really knowing what it was for.
This back and forth leads to the absolute theological climax of the whole story. The jester takes the high priest's idea, builds on it, and then delivers one single line that completely shatters the priest's 6-year writer's block. It just reframes everything.
So why would a divine being take on a human body? The jester's answer is just devastatingly simple: to know what cold feels like, to experience the world not from some lofty distance, but from the inside, to get what limitation and sensation and mortality actually feel like. It's not about putting up with a body, it's about choosing it for the knowledge it holds.
You see how this idea just unlocks everything for the high priest? If the divine chose to live in a body to learn, then the body can't be this fallen, sinful thing that separates us from God. It's sacred. It's the designated meeting place, the literal point of contact between the physical and the spiritual, between us and the holy.
And right here, the whole dynamic of the conversation just flips on its head. The dance reverses. The high priest, with this new understanding, stops looking at his notes and puts his full attention on the strange man sitting in front of him. Suddenly, the jester isn't just the one asking the questions, he's become the subject. The high priest asks this incredibly direct, incredibly personal question. He takes their big philosophical idea and brings it right down to earth. He looks at the jester, the bells, the unsettling face, all of it, and asks, "So, what does your form say? What kind of spirit takes on a shape like yours?" But before the jester can even answer, the high priest offers his own theory, and it's completely different from how anyone else has ever seen him. He throws out all the old labels: monster, grotesque, necessary evil. And instead, he lands on one single perfect word: instrument.
And here's the priest's brilliant insight. The jester isn't the source of the wrongness in the world. He's the tool that lets us see it. You know, like how you need a thermometer to measure the cold, even though the cold was there all along. The jester's strange form is what makes the world's hidden griefs and unspoken questions visible to the rest of us.
And the effect of being seen this way is just profound. For the first time in this whole journey, the jester is completely still. The story slows right down. The cell itself seems to hold its breath. And then something impossible happens. The jester's mask, his grotesque, gargoyle face that has never shown anything but scorn, it actually softens.
And then, in that rare confessional ember voice, he says this. I mean, wow. This is the most vulnerable we will ever see him. He admits that the high priest is the first person ever to see him not as a monster, but as a tool, and to mean it as a validation, not an insult. For him to be truly seen like this is a revelation.
So with that incredible exchange, the dance is complete. Both men have been totally transformed by this conversation. But the story is very clear. This isn't the final chapter. This meeting was the fulfillment of something, for sure, but it was also just getting them ready for whatever comes next. And we're left with this really powerful final image. The high priest's quill is finally moving again. The jester is standing in the doorway, caught right between the candlelight of the cell and the darkness outside. That's his permanent home, the threshold. He's always going to be the guy between worlds, but now he's been changed by what he found in the light.
So what are the big takeaways from this amazing parable? Well, first, that real dialogue where both people actually give and receive can change you. Second, that the body isn't some obstacle to the divine, it's the very place you meet it. It also reminds us that being truly seen for who you are is an incredible gift. And finally, that some truths are invisible until the right instrument comes along to show them to us.
And all of that leaves us with one final, tough question to think about. The story suggests that our fear and our judgments can lock these sacred meeting places shut, creating bodies made cold by arrangement. So it forces us to ask, if our own bodies and the bodies of others are meant to be where the human and the holy meet, which ones have we locked shut? Which doors have we refused to open?